He stole my brainchild and kicked me out. He wasn't prepared for what came next. So, picture this, a few years back, I'm 38. Not quite middle-aged, but definitely feeling the mileage of a career spent chasing the next big thing. I was a senior product manager at Innovate Solutions. And man, that name was aspirational, to say the least. It was one of those hypergrowth tech companies where the kombucha on tap and the brightly colored beanbag chairs were supposed to be fair compensation for the soul-crushing hours and the constant, gnawing pressure to outperform everyone, including yourself. I'd been embedded there for nearly 7 years, clawing my way up that slippery corporate ladder, basically offering up my life on the altar of Innovate Solutions. My wife, Sarah, bless her patient soul, had this running gag that my real marriage certificate was with Innovate Solutions, not her. We'd hit our 12-year anniversary, and while she was a teacher with a blessedly normal 9-to-5-ish schedule, she was my rock, the anchor in my often turbulent professional sea. We'd even put the whole kids' conversation on a seemingly permanent hold because I was so laser-focused on climbing. It wasn't a lack of desire, not really. It was always, "Just one more promotion, John," I'd plead. "Then we'll really start trying. Promise." Famous last words, right? My journey to Innovate Solutions wasn't a straight shot. Before them, I'd done my time in the trenches of smaller startups. Think ramen noodle dinners and sleeping under desks. That's where I learned the ropes, made a spectacular number of mistakes, and slowly, painstakingly, honed my craft. I've been a tech geek since I was 10, the day my dad brought home our first clunky desktop. I was mesmerized. Taking things apart, trying to understand their inner workings, sometimes successfully reassembling them, sometimes creating an expensive paperweight. That was my jam. But Innovate Solutions felt different, monumental. This was the major leagues, a genuine shot at making a tangible impact, leaving a real mark. And I poured every ounce of myself into it, especially into this one project, my magnum opus, a revolutionary new software platform. Codenamed Project Phoenix. This thing was designed to be the central nervous system for the entire company, integrating all their clunky, disparate legacy systems into one sleek, intuitive, glorious interface. It was my baby, conceived during countless sleepless nights fueled by lukewarm coffee, refined through endless brainstorming sessions, and occasionally, I'd still roll up my sleeves and dive into the code myself. The documentation alone was a beast, hundreds of pages of meticulous proposals, intricate wireframes, exhaustive market analyses, user stories, technical specifications. I presented it to my boss, Mark, the VP of Product Development. Now, Mark was a caricature. He was the epitome of the slick, glad-handing executive who seemed to have mastered the art of appearing busy while contributing absolutely nothing of substance. He had this wardrobe of ridiculously expensive suits that always looked like they were wearing him, and a permatan that gave his skin the unfortunate hue and texture of an old, forgotten leather handbag. He always smelled faintly of desperation and too much cologne. I remember that presentation like it was yesterday. It was a Tuesday, October 15th, bright and early at 10 a.m., in the main conference room, the one with the intimidatingly long mahogany table and the chairs that were just a little too uncomfortable. I was a bundle of nerves, sure, but underneath that was this thrumming excitement. I knew Project Phoenix was a game changer. Mark, true to form, put on a great show of being impressed. He nodded sagely, stroked his chin, asked a few perfunctory questions like, "How scalable is this, John?" and "What's the projected ROI on this, ballpark?" Questions I'd answered in painstaking detail in the first 10 pages of the proposal. Then he delivered the line that, in hindsight, should have set off every alarm bell in my head. "This is great, John, really top-notch. Let me take this to the executive team. I'll champion this for you. You just focus on keeping the lights on with your other projects." Champion? Right. I was so blinded by the prospect of seeing Phoenix take flight, so eager for validation that I bought it. Hook, line, and sinker. Big, colossal, life-altering mistake. In the weeks that followed, the atmosphere around the executive floor turned odd. Mark was suddenly in more closed-door meetings with the CEO, David Thompson, and the other bigwigs than usual. There was this palpable sense of secrets, of conversations happening just out of earshot. Whenever I tried to get an update on Phoenix, Mark would fob me off with some vague platitude. "It's moving along, John, wheels are in motion." Or, "Still in the evaluation phase, these things take time." Red flags were practically smacking me in the face, but I was deep in denial, clinging to this naive belief in the company, and the people I'd dedicated years of my life to. What an idiot. I vividly recall one specific encounter. It was a Friday, November 8th, by the fancy coffee machine that nobody really knew how to operate properly. "Mark," I said, trying to sound casual, "any word on Phoenix? I'm really keen to get the development sprints planned out." He gave this dismissive little flick of his wrist, barely looking up from his phone. "Don't you worry your little head about it, John. I've got it completely under control. Just keep pushing on those Q4 deliverables for your current product line." That's when the acid in my stomach really started to churn. My gut was screaming at me, but my brain was still trying to rationalize. Then, the guillotine fell. Friday, December 6th. It was gray and miserable outside, matching my impending mood. Around 4 p.m., Mark's assistant summoned me to his office. No pleasantries, no small talk. He just gestured vaguely to the uncomfortable visitor's chair. "John," he began, his voice devoid of any emotion, "we've made the difficult decision to restructure the product development team. As part of this strategic realignment, your position is being eliminated, effective immediately." My jaw literally dropped. I think I actually stammered. "Restructure? What are you talking about? I've been here 7 years. Project Phoenix, my team." He just slid a thin envelope across the desk, a paltry 2 weeks severance. "The company appreciates your contributions," he droned, eyes fixed somewhere over my left shoulder. He wouldn't even look me in the eye, the coward. As I was numbly, robotically packing my few personal belongings into a sad little cardboard box, a novelty mug Sarah had given me, a framed photo of us hiking, a stress ball shaped like a brain, I happened to glance at Mark's oversized monitor. I wasn't trying to snoop, honestly, but his desk was positioned so his screen was partially visible from where I stood. An email notification had just popped up. Sender, David Thompson, CEO. Subject: New platform launch strategy confidential. And there, in the preview pane, I saw it. Bullet points detailing the accelerated launch plan for my platform, Project Phoenix. And listed as project-led and visionary, Mark. The blood didn't just turn to ice, it felt like it evaporated. The sheer, calculated audacity of the betrayal was breathtaking. It was a physical blow, knocking the air clean out of my lungs. I walked out of Innovate Solutions that day, not with righteous fury, that would come later, but with a cold, diamond-hard resolve forming in the pit of my stomach. I wasn't going to scream or shout or make a scene. That's what they'd expect. No, I was going to play the long game. The next few weeks were a blur of hushed phone calls and clandestine meetings. I lawyered up immediately, of course. But I also made a point to maintain very light, casual contact with a couple of trusted former colleagues, Sarah Chin from marketing, who was a straight shooter, and Tom Miller, a brilliant lead engineer I'd worked closely with. Just an occasional, breezy email. "Hey, how are things? Crazy times, huh?" Keeping those lines of communication open, subtly. The very first call I made, though, was to my Sarah. My voice was shaking so much I could barely get the words out. "Honey," I managed, I got fired." A long, heavy silence stretched across the line. Then, "What? John, no! What on earth happened?" I laid out the bare bones, the restructuring, leaving out the stolen platform part for the moment. It was too raw, too unbelievable even for me to articulate fully. "Oh, John, I'm so sorry," she said, her voice laced with a fierce protectiveness that warmed me to my core. "That's just awful. But listen, we'll figure this out. We always do. You're brilliant, and they're idiots. Her unwavering support was the only thing keeping me from completely unraveling. I then dove headfirst into archaeology, digging through years of archived emails, project management software, cloud storage, even old notebooks. I meticulously compiled every scrap of evidence, timestamps on documents, email chains discussing specific features I'd proposed, meeting minutes where I'd presented progress, my original wireframes, the whole damn thing. My lawyer, Ms. Evans, was a recommendation from a friend of a friend. Our first meeting was on December 12th. She was sharp, no nonsense, with eyes that missed nothing. I dumped a mountain of files, digital and physical, on her desk. She spent hours poring over it, occasionally letting out a low whistle. "John," she said finally, leaning back in her chair, "you have a very strong case here. We could go after them for breach of contract, certainly. Intellectual property theft, definitely arguable, though corporate IP clauses can be tricky. But," she paused, fixing me with a shrewd gaze, "a lawsuit will be a public spectacle. It'll be protracted, incredibly expensive, and emotionally draining. Legal fees alone could be astronomical. Or," and here her lips curved into a slight, knowing smile, "we could explore a more strategic path. Think about what you truly want to achieve here, John. Is it just money? Or is it something more?" She knew. She absolutely knew I wasn't just after a payout. I wanted them to feel the consequences. I wanted Mark to squirm. That's when the gears in my mind really started to whir. My plan began to crystallize. Innovate Solutions, for all its bluster, had an Achilles heel. Project Phoenix, my Phoenix, relied heavily on a very specific, highly specialized component, a proprietary algorithm for advanced data processing. It was called the Synergy algorithm, and it was the magic ingredient, the secret sauce, licensed from a small, independent software vendor tucked away in Switzerland. The owner, a rather eccentric but brilliant Swiss gentleman named Klaus Richter, was someone I dealt with directly when negotiating the initial licensing terms. We'd actually hit it off, sharing a mutual appreciation for elegant code and good cheese. I decided to reach out to Klaus. It was December 20th, just before the holidays. I drafted the email with extreme care, explaining my recent, involuntary departure from Innovate Solutions and without explicitly mentioning legal threats or my full revenge plot, simply stated that they were launching a platform based heavily on my original work, without any attribution or proper compensation to me, and that I was now exploring options, including potentially developing a competing product that might leverage a similar algorithmic approach. The email read something like, "Dear Klaus, I hope this message finds you well and enjoying the lead up to the festive season. I'm writing to you today regarding a matter of some professional concern. As you know, Innovate Solutions has been a valued licensee of your exceptional Synergy algorithm for several years, a relationship I helped foster. I recently parted ways with Innovate Solutions. It has come to my attention that they are proceeding with a platform, significantly based on my designs, which heavily utilizes your algorithm. I am now considering my next steps, which may include the development of a new, competing platform that would, by necessity, require a sophisticated data processing engine similar to yours. I wanted to be transparent with you about this, as I've always valued our professional relationship and your pioneering work in this field." Klaus, bless his principled heart, was incandescent with rage when he replied. He was a staunch believer in intellectual honesty and fair play. He called me almost immediately. "John, this is an outrage," he boomed down the line, his accent thicker than usual with indignation. "I cannot believe they would behave in such a dishonorable fashion. They have been a good customer, yes, but business must be conducted with integrity." And then he said the magic words, the words that made a slow, wolfish grin spread across my face. "You know, John, their current licensing agreement for Synergy is up for renewal in a few months. The contract expires on March 15th, to be precise." After hearing this, well, let's just say I am having significant second thoughts about extending our partnership with a company that engages in such practices. Bingo! That was the linchpin. I just had to wait. A few agonizingly long weeks later, on January 10th, Innovate Solutions, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing, launched their new platform, My Project Phoenix, bastardized and rebranded, with a massive PR blitz. Champagne corks popped, the tech blogs gushed, their stock price dutifully jumped. Mark, the architect of this grand theft, was lauded as a visionary and promptly promoted to senior VP. They thought they'd gotten away with it scot-free. I saw the press release, Mark's smug, leathery face beaming out from the screen, and felt that cold anger solidify into pure, unadulterated focus. My plan had to work. Then, the first shoe dropped. Quietly, professionally, without any histrionics, Klaus Richter formally notified Innovate Solutions on February 20th that he would not be renewing their licensing agreement for the Synergy algorithm. He sent a very polite, very firm letter citing fundamental concerns regarding their recent business ethics and treatment of key personnel involved in projects utilizing our proprietary technology. Innovate Solutions, high on their own arrogance, apparently tried to bully him. They threatened, they cajoled, they probably offered him more money. They completely, catastrophically underestimated Klaus's commitment to his principles. He wasn't budging. The ramifications were, as I'd gleefully anticipated, cataclysmic. My platform, their shiny new toy, was deeply, intrinsically reliant on Klaus's algorithm. Without it, the core data processing engine was a hollow shell. The entire thing was practically useless, a multi-million-dollar dud. The news, when it finally leaked, because secrets like that never stay secret in tech, hit Wall Street like a torpedo. I remember checking the stock ticker on my phone on March 16th, the day after the license officially expired. Innovate Solutions was down 20% in a single trading day. 20%. Mark's shiny new SVP title was abruptly put on hold indefinitely. The entire company was thrown into a blind panic. Frantic, high-level emergency meetings were convened around the clock. They were desperately trying to find a workaround, a replacement algorithm, anything. But the Synergy algorithm was unique, highly specialized. They were screwed, and the best part? They still hadn't fully connected the dots back to me. The grapevine, primarily through my old contacts Tom and Sarah Chin, was buzzing. Tom Miller called me one evening, his voice strained, almost frantic. "John, man, you will not believe the chaos here. What in God's name is going on with Klaus Richter? They're saying he's pulled the plug on the Synergy algorithm. The whole platform, Phoenix, it's dead in the water. Do you know anything? Can you talk to him?" I feigned complete, bewildered ignorance. "Klaus? Wow, Tom, that's terrible news. No, I haven't spoken to him in weeks, not since I left. Why would he do that?" Tom practically begged me to intervene, to use my old relationship with Klaus to smooth things over. "John, please, they're even talking about asking you if you'd put in a good word. The place is a madhouse." Oh, the sweet, sweet irony. I, of course, assured Tom I'd see if I could think of anything, and then did absolutely nothing. A few weeks later, the call I'd been anticipating finally came. April 5th. My phone buzzed with an unknown number. It was David Thompson, the CEO himself, a man who typically communicated with mortals like me through 3 layers of VPs. His voice, usually so confident and booming, was now laced with an almost comical desperation. "John," he began. "John, it's David Thompson. Listen, we made a mistake. A terrible mistake. About your departure. About Project Phoenix. We need you, John. The platform, it's critical. We need you to come back. We'll double your old salary. Name your title, Chief Product Officer? Chief Innovation Officer? Whatever you want. And Mark will issue a full, public apology. We just need you to help us fix this. Talk to Klaus. Get him back on board." I let him talk, let him grovel. It was music to my ears. Then, with immense, quiet satisfaction, I politely, firmly declined. "David," I said, "I appreciate the offer, truly. But I've already accepted a new position at a competitor, Synergy Tech, actually. They're giving me the opportunity, and the resources, to build out my vision for a next-generation platform, with a fantastic team and full creative control. The silence on his end was deafening. The absolute best part? The delicious cherry on top? A few months into my new gig at Synergy Tech, I heard through the grapevine, Tom again, bless his gossipy heart, that Mark had been unceremoniously, albeit quietly, demoted. Stripped of his SVP title, shunted off to some forgotten, dead-end, special projects role in a dusty corner of the company. He went from golden boy to persona non grata almost overnight. The blame for the Phoenix debacle, rightly, landed squarely on his perfectly suited shoulders. He didn't last long after that. Offered a generous severance package to just disappear. The last I heard, he was trying to offload used car parts for some small, no-name dealership in the suburbs. Poetic justice, if you asked me. I never had to raise my voice, never had to engage in messy confrontations or overt acts of sabotage. I simply leveraged my knowledge, my relationships, and their own arrogance against them. I played chess while they were playing checkers. Synergy Tech was a dream. They treated me like a valuable asset, not a disposable cog. They were genuinely thrilled with the plans for Project Phoenix, which we, of course, renamed. We launched it a year later to critical acclaim and massive market success. And that, my friends, is how you orchestrate a truly satisfying, cold, calculated revenge. It's not about the heat of anger. It's about the chilling precision of strategy, the quiet patience of waiting for the opportune moment, and the deep, internal hum of satisfaction knowing that the scales have been balanced, and your worth has finally been recognized. Sarah was immensely proud. I always knew you were a force to be reckoned with, John, she said, beaming. You just needed the right battlefield. And you know what? We even started seriously talking about kids again. For the first time in a long, long time, the timing felt right. The whole ordeal taught me an invaluable lesson about integrity, the long game, and the quiet power of knowing your worth. And yeah, if I'm being completely honest, watching Innovate Solutions flounder while Mark faded into obscurity? It was kind of fun. More than kind of.